Oh, sir, have you seen my little granddaughter? She ventured to the town to buy food for me, but has not yet returned. I fear she may be in peril. The forest is not safe at night.
You hear the sound of a child sobbing nearby. As you approach, you recognize the child. It is Possum, the little girl you helped earlier today.
Are you all right? What happened?
I went into town to buy some chicken soup for my grandma. I always try to reach home before dark, but this eve I lost my way and was attacked.
Attacked? A wolf attacked you?
No, not by a wolf, a dwarf.
For a moment, you're not sure that you heard correctly.
A dwarf, did you say?
Uh-huh. He jumped out at me, took my food, and then ran away.
Listen, I'm going to try to find this dwarf that you say stole your food. You get back to your grandma, understand?
Possum nods, says a soft thank you, and heads back home. Evidently, this tree forms part of a subterranean dwelling. You rap on the treehouse door and wait a moment, but get no response. You watch as a little man runs out of the door, which has been built into a tree. You surmise that you have found the culprit's home. The vague aroma of chicken soup confirms it. That fiend! Finding the door ajar, you cautiously open it and step inside the tree. There is a pot of chicken soup boiling over the fire. You grab the handle of the bubbling pot of chicken soup. You take it with you. An old trunk rests in the corner of this hovel. Upon opening the trunk, you find a number of items that the dwarf has obviously stolen and stashed away. Among them are some gold coins. They display the distinctive face of the first king. They could only have come from the magic chest of Daventry. You close the chest. You hear the latch fall into place again as the door closes behind you.
Welcome. Come in, please. Possum told me to expect you.
You place the now cold chicken soup over the crackling fire once more. After it heats up to eating temperature, you remove it again. You offer the soup to Possum's grandma, introduce yourself, and wait courteously while the frail elderly lady eats the nourishing meal. When she is finished, she sets the empty bowl down elsewhere and turns her attention towards you.
If you would like to speak with me for a while, I would welcome your company. A person should never turn away a visitor, especially when she reaches the twilight of her life.
You can't help but feel a sense of finality in the old woman's words.
You must have something in return for your kindness. You do not need to risk your safety for an old, worn-out woman like myself. Look under the bed. You should find something to keep you a little warmer on a cold night like this.
This is the home of Possum's grandma. It is comfortably furnished. Frilly curtains cover the windows, flowers are in the vases. The elderly woman is lying on a wooden bed in a cloud of pillows and coverlets. You peer under the bed and find a thick black cloak. Lying atop it is a beautiful ruby-encrusted ring. You pick both up with reverence.
I could not possibly take these fine things from you.
Oh, please. I want you to have them. Nights in Kolima are cold, believe me. As for the ring, well, perhaps it is better that I do not have it to remind me.
As you wish. You have a charming young granddaughter.
Grandma smiles at you graciously.
She is a treasure to me. I would do anything to ensure that no harm comes to her.
If I may inquire, what became of her parents?
Grandma frowns, and her eyes darken for a moment before she forces a melancholy smile to her face.
They were lost to us many years ago. I am afraid dear Possum never really knew her parents.
It must have been a daunting task raising a child by yourself, especially at your
At my age? I am certainly not as young as I used to be, and there is no shame in that. I have tried to raise her as best I could to keep her safe and well. However, I fear that as of late the reverse has become truer.
They say a home is one's castle, but your voice won't sound as good in here.
If you please, I was hoping you might tell me of the cloak and ring's origin.
The old woman closes her eyes as if the memory she seeks is painful to her senses.
They were my husband's. He was a proud man, the last of his line. His family had been rich, a great deal of old money, you might say. They lived in that castle you might have seen to the north. Its location upon that island is evidence of how much they valued their privacy. He was a good man, my husband. He took care of me. Certainly he had his strange habits. Most men do, if you will pardon me for saying so. I suspect that he practiced magic, so I could never catch him in the act. He would frequently journey afar, taking that black cloak with him wherever he went, to places he would not talk about. He said that it represented something important to a certain group of people, and that I was never to mention it to anyone. But he was always there for me, always, until that fateful night. We had been married just over a year, and I was heavy with child. We were both out walking in the weirwood forest late one night. The air was warm, and in our youth we paid little attention to the world and its many dangers. Besides, there was a full moon. We could see clearly enough. A shadow passed over us. We looked up, thinking it might have been a stray cloud. It was not. Descending upon us like a demon was the largest, most hideous bat I had ever seen. Its fangs were bared, and it dove straight for me. I must have screamed. My husband flung himself in front of me to protect me. He swung his arms about frantically in hopes of warding the horrid thing away. Perhaps he was trying to cast a spell, but could not recall how in his panic. It paid him no heed and would not be deterred. It swooped again and again relentlessly. At one point, my husband's hand must have clipped the bat's wing because it lost control and crashed into his shoulder. He tried to wrest the foul creature away, but then he shrieked suddenly. The horrid thing had bitten him. He never did recover from that incident. He just faded with each passing hour. Within 2 days of the attack, my husband had died. We buried him on his family's plantation on the island. Sometimes when I sleep, I can feel him watching over me, guarding me, protecting me. I think he is waiting for my time to come so we can be together always.
The old lady seems to be dozing off. You can barely hear her final words.
I miss him so.
Telling the story has clearly taken a great deal out of her. You watch the old woman a moment and notice her labored breathing as she sleeps. Despite the little girl's tireless daily efforts, perhaps there's nothing more to be done.